All right, welcome to the Secrets of Estuary session of the 2019 Live Coding Intensive. It's not going to only be about Secrets of Estuary. It's also going to be about the things that you need to do to form ensembles and that kind of thing, whether it's to play in the same room or to play with friends on the other side of the world. So I'm just going to reload the platform here at https intramuros.mcmaster.ca, and I'm going to click on Start. And instead of going to solo mode like we went to yesterday, I'm going to go to Collaborate. And I'm going to increase the font size a little bit. When I go to Collaborate, what I have here on the left is a list of names of ensembles that are currently hosted on the platform. And you can see a lot of them have names that are dates or test or workshop, because it's fun to form temporary ensembles with people in workshop settings. If we want to create a new ensemble, we click on the button that says Create New Ensemble, and we're greeted by this interface, and it asks us for an administrator password. I think in the next year, you may see changes in the way users and permissions and security are managed in Estuary as it grows and we're dealing with more people. But for now, we have a very kind of loosey-goosey security model where if you know the administrator password, you can make ensembles. And that's kind of it. So the administrative password has been and continues to be Morelia, like the name of the city in Mexico. It looks like that. I'll just type it there so everyone can see it. And we should probably change that at some point because we've had the same global password for, I don't know, what is that, 2 years now? 2.5 years? Or something like that. So yeah, bad us, naughty us. But there you have it. But I've been saying that we should change the password for a long time and we haven't been changing it. So in the meantime, you didn't hear it from me. The password is Morelia. The reason why it's Morelia is because the International Conference on Live Coding was there many years ago, and so we must have said it at that time and just haven't bothered to change it. If you've entered the right password for the administrator, then you can make a name. So let's make a name like NIL Live Coding Intensive, and we can set a password for the ensemble. And this is something different than the administrator password. This is the password that people will need to know if they're going to perform with you, basically, by making changes to the code. No one needs the password just in order to listen. Let's say there's a situation where you have a live coding ensemble that's working in Estuary here in one place, and that you want someone at another place to open up Estuary in order to hear and see the performance. Because maybe there's an event happening and you want to use Estuary to beam your performance into that event, you don't need to give them the password in that case. The password is only needed for the people who are going to change code or be part of the performance. So we should set a password for this morning. Hopefully not too many people are watching online and trying to hack our ensemble as we work with it, because that would be annoying. Don't do that if you're watching online. I don't know, what's a good password? We could make it Morelia again, yes, let's do that. Morelia. So now I press confirm, and I don't want to save the password Chrome, thank you. But here on the list now we have NIL Live Coding Intensive, appears as an ensemble. Someone else made another ensemble with 2 L's. Yeah, we have 2, this is going to be confusing. I'm going to pick the first one, the one with 1 L, but you can go to whichever one you like. When I click that, I get the default Estuary interface, just like we got when we were working in solo mode. But some things are quietly behind the scenes different now. So one thing is that if I enter the password, Morelia, and you also enter this ensemble, maybe some of you can enter this ensemble, and I make changes, you should see them on your screens if you're in that same ensemble. Is anyone in that ensemble? Yeah, you seeing my typing?
Yeah.
Yay, it's working. And also, if I evaluate code, it will be evaluated where you are as well. And so, first thing that is kind of practical in using this in workshop settings where we're all in the same room, and we're now having the same ensemble mirrored on different computers, is we might not actually want them all to be rendering the sound and visuals. Maybe one computer can be responsible for rendering the sound and visuals, or two computers maybe for the sound and visuals, but we want the rest of our computers just to be editing, so that they stay snappy and perform. They're not worrying about the load of rendering all this sound and video. And that's what these checkboxes are for in the upper right of the screen. You see one that says Canvas and one that says WebDirt. So you can turn those off to turn off different types of graphics in the case of Canvas and audio in the case of WebDirt. These should be reorganized soon, and after they're reorganized, they may instead be labeled graphics and audio or something like that. So it's useful, especially if your browser and computer starts to struggle with the performance. They'll struggle with the load of rendering the ensemble. It's useful to just say, okay, this computer is not going to render this stuff at all. It's just going to edit. And that also lets you do things. We've had lots of good experiences working with in schools where they have things like Chromebooks that are often not very particularly powerful computers. Often maybe aren't always so good at actually rendering the audio and graphics. But if we have one sort of quote-unquote real computer in the room hooked up to the system, everyone can share that for the rendering while they can edit from their own machines, which is very practical. So a lot of you probably have the WebDirt thing still checked, which is fine because chaos is good. So I'm going to evaluate some code. I'm hearing it from me, and I'm hearing it from a few other places too. But if you unclick WebDirt, then you won't hear it anymore. So far so good, right? So continuing our introduction to the ensemble features of Estuary, in the standard interface that we're all looking at here, if you look just above where it says mini title, there's actually a little place to edit text there. See, if I type here, you should all be seeing that text if you're in this ensemble. And this particular editor is an editor that is not connected to any programming language. It's called a label in Estuary terminology. And so it's a shared editing label like a Google Doc, but it has no effect on rendering. It's not connected to any programming language. And this actually evolved from the practice of the cybernetic orchestra when we were using an older system called Extramuros for collaborative editing. And what people would do in Extramuros, it happened kind of instinctively, is everyone would put a comment at the top of their code block. They would put like their name with a comment as a way of identifying this is where I am. And so that practice evolved into this label widget here in the Estuary view. So I could put my name here instead. So I'm going to do that. Right. So far so good, right? What if this layout, this collection of Estuary widgets doesn't suit the purposes of your ensemble? Like, what if you have 10 people? This isn't going to work so great, right? They're going to have to take turns or something like that. So there is actually a system. It's not a very well-documented system, but it works for changing the layout of the panels in the Estuary view. And that's what I want to kind of go through with you now, because I think it's something that makes it way more useful to people. If you want to make a view that's just one big editor for your massive title or punctual program, you can do that and then share it around the world. If you want to make something that's got lots of little ones for a huge ensemble, you can do that. And moreover, you can also have different views, different interfaces for the same ensemble, which can be useful. Like let's say we have we have an ensemble with 4 people in it and we have 4 projectors. Maybe each person wants to see all 4 windows on their computer so they can edit wherever. But maybe the 4 projectors are each connected to different computers, and we want just that part of the ensemble to be visible on that projector. Well, that's supported by this system as well. So to use it, we have to use this terminal chat at the very bottom of the window there. And the way this this interface works is if we type something, it will be chatted to everyone else in that ensemble. People will see it whether or not they've entered the password, just like they will hear and see the sound and graphics whether they've entered the password or not. And right now it says chats because I forgot to enter my name at the top. So I'm going to enter my name at the top, and now when I chat, it will have a name. There we go. That's a little bit more useful. In the future, we plan to make it that you can't come into the ensemble without at least entering a name and a handle so that it's not so confusing. You don't get these anonymous chats. But we haven't done that yet. So you can use that to chat. Now, then there's a system of commands in the terminal. And the way the commands work is they all start with an exclamation point. And a cheap way of getting a list of the commands is just to put an exclamation point and press enter. And I'll get this error message that says error unknown, line 1, column 2, and it says unexpected end of input expecting, and it's got this big list of the things it's expecting. Well, that just happens to be all of the commands that you can do at the Estuary terminal. So what I want to do is review some of those now. So a useful first command is the command dump view. So I put exclamation point dump view, all lowercase, and press enter. And I get this response back that looks like this. And I'm going to make the font big just so we can zoom down and talk about that. So here's the part we're talking about right here. This is the response I got to dump view. And so this is a description of the interface that we're looking at right now. It's a description of the default interface. Everything in a curly brace is one block or div of the browser's document here. And then everything that has this structure of like a word like label followed by a number, that's some kind of collaborative editing zone. So for example, this one here that says label :1, that's that first label right here. And so any view that has label 1 in it is going to be editing that piece of information. And then there's a couple of different types of editors, interfaces that that engage with live coding programming languages. So one of them is the structure editor. I saw someone playing with that a second ago. It's a thing where you click to add things to the program. That's actually part of the original Estuary project a few years ago. And then the one that we've been working with a lot the last couple of days is the text view, which lets us edit a bunch of different languages in a text editor. And then on the bottom right, some of you even noticed that there's this, may have noticed that there's this sequencer. We didn't really talk about that before. I'm going to zoom out and play with the sequencer just for fun. Here's the sequencer down here. When I click plus, I get a row, and I can put a name of a sample in. Sometimes it's a bit touchy to fast typing. Yeah, it's a bit sensitive now. I think the sequencer needs some work. If we Did it come back? Okay, I got rid of one of them. No. not sure if that's going to settle down. No, I think it's doing it by itself. Sometimes if you let it go for a second and then.
What's exactly happening right now?
It's a bug.
Yeah.
It's a bug, but it has to do with collaboration in the sequencer, and it's sharing its edits, but then other previous edits are coming back kind of out of sequence and triggering new things. So we keep thinking we fixed that bug, but it comes back. At least it's not making any sound. I'm gonna maybe just reload. Well, reload is not gonna do it. I'm gonna go to a new ensemble. I'm gonna go to the second Estuary, the one with 2 L's, the NIL Live Coding Intensive, and work there instead. And I'm gonna stay away from the sequencer for now. Oh, what's the password in the other one? Someone made that. Is it also Morelia?
Yes, yeah.
Also Morelia. Okay, good. Good. So I'll also enter Morelia here. And I'm going to zoom in. So this, there's 2 more things to say about this, this thing that we get from dump view that shows us that describes the interface that we're going to work with on the ensemble. One is that we're probably going to be making text view a lot, because that's a super useful widget that gives us access to lots of different text programming languages. And so we have to think a little bit about what the numbers after the colon mean here. The first number is which zone it's editing. So everything that we edit collaboratively should have a different number. Otherwise, you're going to have different widgets trying to edit the same thing, and that's going to be chaos. And the second number, because it's a text widget, is how many rows it should be. So if you look at this one, it says text view 8, 3. That's which one is that? That's this one right here, and it has 1, 2, 3 rows in it. So the other thing that we haven't talked about that we should talk about here is what comes after the curly braces with each of these. So what's coming after the curly braces here is a CSS class, and there's a bunch of different ones. The easiest way that are available, the easiest way to learn them is just to copy them from other ensembles that you find. And like, for example, we see the first one, the first block here is labeled div view bottom or top left. And sure enough, this first panel appears as a block in the top left, right? If we look at the last one, it's labeled div view bottom or top right. And sure enough, it's on the right in the bottom. So there's a bunch of those available, and although I don't want to talk about it now, there's ways of adding them if you want to have things styled in a different way, like with a different font, or, you know, a larger font or a different color or something like that. So that's the language of the views. Now, step 2, there's a bunch of preset views that are built in. It's not easy to know what their names are, because this is all not very documented. But if you do exclamation point preset view cybernetic, you'll get whatever the current preset that the cybernetic orchestra is using is, which, if we do it, I'm going to go back to normal size, looks like that. So it's a sequencer widget and then 3 text editor widgets, and they all occupy the full width of the screen. And if we do dump view now, and I'll zoom in again, we'll see how that one, the new stuff is the stuff that appears here that I'm highlighting. So you see that the CSS class in each block is full row, top or bottom, and then in each one there's a label and a sequence. The first one, a label and a sequence view, and the other one's a label and a text view. And if you look at the numbers after the colon, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, there's 8 things you can edit here collaboratively. They each have a different number so that they're not stepping on each other's toes. there are some other presets. I don't remember all the names. I remember there was one called Manizales, which is 4 boxes, 4 bigger boxes. See, they've got more rows. How many rows do they have? 10. 10 rows. So kind of a quartet view there. What are some other ones? I think there was one called Lima. No. Oh, apparently there is. There's one that has like an enormous amount of boxes, but I don't remember what it is. I'm just going to go to Chrome for a second to check, or to Firefox to check in the code what the one that has a lot of boxes is called. Oh, no, it's here. Here's all the presets. So, well, ICLC 2017 has a lot of boxes, and Bogota has a lot of boxes too. Actually, they have the same amount of boxes. They're the same. And those look like the ones that has the most. So if I go back here and I do preset view ICLC 2017, did I do that right? Oh, there we go, it just took its time. And I go back to normal zoom. There we go, there's lots of boxes there. So 20, I think. So I'm going to go back to the view that was called Manizales, because I like that one looks nice. So I've gone to the preset, but me going to this preset has only happened here on my computer. That hasn't affected anyone else in this ensemble. What if what I'm doing is what if I'm trying to set up this view so that we can play together in it? That's what I want to talk about next. So if I have the correct password entered, what I can do is enter the command publish default view. When I press enter, nothing happens. But if I reload now, I'm going to reload, or this could be someone else coming into the ensemble. I'm going to go to collaborate and NIL Live Coding Intensive. And see, now I get that view instead. So the default view, if you do publish default view, the default view is the view that people will get when they join this ensemble. So if some of you are in that ensemble now and you want this view, you just have to reload, go back into the ensemble. You should have the Manizales view by default now. So for the most part, that covers like 95% of the situations to do with setting up ensembles. Most of the time, everyone has the same view, and you work with that. But occasionally, you do want to have different views on different computers in the same ensemble. So there's a system for that as well. So if I just bring up the list of commands, we see that there's a command publish view. So I'm going to make an arbitrary different view using preset. So I'm going to switch to the cybernetic view. Let's say that's our new view. And I'm going to publish, I have to enter the password, Morelia. And I'm going to publish this view not as the default view. I'm not going to do publish default view. I'm going to do publish view, and I'm going to give it a name, like second view. And now, what everyone will be able to do is they can do list views, and you see second view appears there. And if they go active view and that name, they'll switch to that view. So what this lets you do is have an ensemble that's got different views kind of banked up in it. And so we might make a view for projector 1, a view for projector 2, a view for projector 3, and then on any one of the computers that are connected to that ensemble, we could change to those views by doing active view projector 1, active view projector 2, active view projector 3. So that's basically the system. I don't want to talk too much more about that now. It's not very well documented. We should document it better. Sorry. We will, eventually. So if you look at the commands that we have, there's a couple on the end here that don't have anything to do with the view system. So I want to show those now. There's start streaming and stream ID. And we've gone now from the realm of the undocumented into the true Estuary secret here. So you are all being initiated into the mysteries of Estuary at this moment. What this lets us do is take the audio that comes out of Estuary and stream it to some other location on the internet, and then probably on our same machine, and then someone else can subscribe to that stream and do something with the audio. So this was a system that was Spencer Park's idea, and he made most of the dirty work necessary for it to happen. And the reason why he made it was so that the cybernetic orchestra could take the audio from Estuary and simultaneously use it in another web-based application, the Force, which is a fragment shader live coding environment created by Sean Lawson and others. So what I'm going to do now is kind of show how that works. So to do that, I need to take a little bit of a tangent about the Force, and there's going to be a more in-depth workshop about the Force later on today, led by Spencer. So I'm going to make a new browser tab, and I'm going to go to Spencer's fork of the Force at spencerpark.github.io/the_force. And when I do that, I get an editor that pops up, and there's a program that apparently has an error that I left from the last time I was here. That's okay. I'm going to ignore the program. I'm going to make a simple, I'm going to replace it with a simple program that just makes the screen red, let's say. So I have to quickly remember my fragment shader programming. This is scary. Here we'll make the color red, and then we'll make everything red all the time. There we go, I did it. Yay for me. Okay, we're going to come back to this in a second. I'm going to go over to Estuary, and I'm going to bring up my terminal. I have a copy of the Estuary software on my computer, of the repository of all the source code from Estuary. And when I change into that directory, there is a subdirectory of that called RTP Bridge, Real-Time Protocol Bridge. And in that directory, there is a little Node.js program called rtpbridge.js. And all I have to do is run it with Node. So rtpbridge.js. Sorry for suddenly jumping into the world of terminals and servers. We did say it was the mysteries of Estuary. And it doesn't give us any feedback because that's appropriate for a mystery, I think. The program just silently is. But it's working. It didn't give us any error messages. So I've started that bridge. And now over in Estuary, what I can do is put the command start streaming. And again, no feedback. And if I do the command stream ID, it says new peer ID, and I've got an inscrutable series of alphanumeric characters, which we all know means it's working, right? Inscrutable characters is good, right? So what I can do is I can take that stream ID and copy it to my clipboard. So I'm going to copy it and go back to the Force. And over in the Force, I'm going to click on that microphone. And here's all of the ways the Force can connect to audio so that you can synchronize audio with the visuals. I think the Force has done a really good job of trying to support these different ways of synchronizing audio and visuals. And over here is RTC Peer, which I think is something that Spencer added, actually. And I click on that. There's this interface here, and I can enter a peer ID, which is that inscrutable sequence of characters. I can enter it there, and I can click Connect, and it says ID blah 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 connected to peer, and there's the inscrutable characters again. And that's good, right? Didn't blow up, didn't say we did anything wrong. It's working. How's it working? Okay, so let's make some audio in Estuary. So I'm going to make some drum beats. It's doing that thing where it's missing a few notes, but that's okay because it'll work for this exercise. So that audio, we're hearing it, and it's being streamed to the Force as well. If we go over to the Force, if we look down here in the lower right, did it stop? It's not making very many notes. It makes less notes when you move the focus off it. You know what? I'm gonna just reload so this works better. So I'm going to have to make a new stream ID. That's okay. So I reloaded. I'm going to go to, I can do this in solo mode actually. I'll do it in solo mode. And I'm going to do start streaming. And then I'm going to do stream ID. And I got a new ID there. And I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to move the Force to a new window. How do I do that? There we go. So that I can have both windows at the same time. And I'm going to copy the stream ID there. I'm going to disconnect, connect with the new stream ID. It's working. Going to make some sound in Estuary. And over here in the Force, we can see that the Force is receiving that audio and it's analyzing it into different parts of the spectrum, like low, middle, high, very high, something like that. So now I can write a Force program that uses that information. Now we're reacting to the low frequencies. Now we're reacting to the next up band. Now we're the next band, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to say too much more about the Force, especially since there's going to be a workshop about it this afternoon. But I did want to show the side of streaming Estuary into this other application. And who knows, maybe people will be able to use that for other useful things too, because it's a very general protocol. So I think there's one more major Estuary secret I want to show, so that because it covers a situation that comes up a lot. It's a situation that exists in this room right now. So in this room we have lots of speakers, and WebDirt that is built into Estuary is only stereo. And so we may want to use the speaker array instead. And the easiest way of doing that right now is to stop using WebDirt and to start using SuperDirt instead, which is the normal way, I guess, that people make sound using title cycles, using the title language. And so what we have to do quickly for that is download from my set of GitHub repositories a little program, again a little node program like the RTP bridge we just used, that is called SuperDirt Socket. And as the description says, it says it's a tiny thing to listen on a WebSocket and forward OSC messages, OSC events to SuperDirt. So I've already downloaded that. I'm going to stop that streaming server. here's my SuperDirt socket, and it's called superdirtsocket.js, and I will run it with Node, and it says it's listening, and then it will forward OSC messages to SuperDirt. And so I just leave that there. And then over in Estuary, which I'm going to reload since it's buggy the last few days. I'm going to reload it, and I'm going to click on SuperDirt, and I'm going to unclick WebDirt, and I'm going to go to solo mode. And I'm going to load Super Collider, which is what I would normally do if I was following the instructions for working with Tidal and the normal way people Tidal have installed. And I'm just going to start SuperDirt. Here I am in Super Collider. This is how I start my server, but most people will just do, oh, it says already in use. Let me try that again. Let's try kill all servers. Reboot interpreter. That looks good. And I can tell my Super Collider is working by playing a note, except I didn't hear it. Maybe because my volume's down. There we go. And I'm going to start SuperDirt in the normal way. It loads a bunch of samples. SuperDirt is loaded. This is all what you would normally do if you followed the instructions for working with SuperDirt and Tidal. And now if I go to Estuary, where I've got SuperDirt checked instead of WebDirt, and make some kind of pattern, like the same one I was making before. Kind of sounds the same, but it's coming from SuperDirt and Super Collider now, instead of coming from WebDirt. And the main thing that means is that right now I'm just hooked up to 2 speakers. But if I was hooked up to 8 speakers when I booted Super Collider, and then also when I started SuperDirt told it to work with 8 speakers, now my panning would work around the circle of 8 speakers instead. So we're not set up for that right now because of the live streaming. But after we stop the live streaming, I think what we'll do is we'll make that change so that we'll be able to do a mini Tidal jam in 8 channels instead. So I think that's the last of the major Estuary secrets. So maybe I'll stop the live stream now, and then we can play for a little bit before lunch.